Hi, I'm Daniel, and I saw the new Illumination Nintendo collaboration titled The Super Mario Bros. Movie. And in 3D too. It's the first time I've seen a movie in 3D since Incredibles 2, which was almost 5 years ago. Anyway, I would usually go over background and my different thoughts with seeing the movie, but it's a young story. I went over in two upcoming movie roundups and a video on the first trailer that went into enough detail that this movie deserves its own playlist. Even as an Illumination fan, I wasn't too excited for this until the teaser trailer dropped and looked incredible. Since then, I've called it my most anticipated movie of 2023, and it's the first notable animated movie of 2023. There was a Netflix one about an elephant, but I gave up on it after about a couple minutes. This had potential to be amazing for Illumination and one of the biggest animated movies of this decade. So is it? The story involves two human brothers, Mario and Luigi, being separated in another world where Princess Peach has to stop the all-powerful Bowser. This does a typical year into a fancy world setup that I'm not a big fan of. This starts to feel strange. It may be that Mario and Luigi don't fit in with the Illumination character designs, the messages being told more than shown, or just the want to get to that world. There's a scene at the pyramid job with a dog that goes on too long. The way they transport there feels forced, but once there the movie becomes great, for the most part. I really like what happens to Mario and Mushroom Kingdom, and the quest to Kong Island. It remains engaging throughout the movie. The climax is intense and fun, but it feels a bit too generic superhero movie for y'all what happens. It's what Teen Titans Go to the Movies made fun of, which is ironic because they share a director. Luckily, I heard that movie's comedy is successfully carried over to Mario. There's many funny lines in context and out of. While Illumination's comedy is overhated, this takes a different step that works for the better. It also has a clear style and direction in the world building. The different Yans created look superb. This embraces the fancy feel it aspires towards. I also appreciate how much it's done with a video game movie. It doesn't just ignore that part of the franchise. It's filled with things like power-up boxes, moving bricks, and references. The way it found a way to incorporate many Mario products like Mario Kart is really cool. It's a nice touch to appeal to fans, while staying open to general audiences as well. It's created a great angle what video game adaptations should do. Story isn't the strongest, but has some surprises, and mostly sits in the side for watching this world and characters unfold. The animation is Illumination's best looking movie. I like what the designs are similar to iconic CG designs, but aren't exactly the same. It gives a bit more vibrant look for a movie, for how rendered they look. The sense of colour is strong and does a good job showcasing the different Yans and characters. Especially the textures and designs for the fire and ice opening is incredible. Cinematography and movement is strong, especially in the 3D showing. This scene near the end where Donkey Kong and Mario are fighting Koopas especially. Now the music. Remember when I previously complimented the Illumination's use of pop culture music? Not in this. It feels like pressing shuffling and placing a random song in a scene, where nothing to make the lyrics or music fit the context. Songs sound bad, but I thought this would be a musical. Original songs would add to this style over the easy current approach given to it. Also on the topic of music, the score is great. It is mostly a typical Mario music, but it is a typical Mario music. I like the slow version used, and the other fast versions that could fit any context. Now for the characters in this movie. Mario is a good protagonist, if a bit too much of a main character like. As for Pratt, he was fine. The accent idea was good, but it didn't do anything for me. I didn't find it distracting, but I know some will. Okay, all your voice actors did a great job. Luigi was kind of on the side for most of the movie, but his importance is still felt. I like what happens in the climax and the arcs of both Mario brothers. The dynamic might have needed to be expanded to build a better emotional core for this movie, because then it would have excelled further. However, I still like what this did. I like Donkey Kong being a rival character who becomes a friend and he's a decent comic relief. Toad is also funny. His frantic voice lines and dedication makes him enjoyable. Princess Peach was made great. She carries most of her scenes, so I'm getting annoyed they mastered her role here. The only kind of problem is that even if she doesn't end up in a relationship, too much of this movie is focused on romance, which leads into the huge disappointment of Bowser. He had so much potential with that threatening design, increasing his scale texture and Jack Black's voice acting being epic. The trailers and opening scenes showed him as a fierce leader who didn't yield in that epic scene. He has the power star, so now he can get married to Peach, what? This may be game accurate, but Villain's an almost amazing villain. It makes him look pathetic, which I get to the point, but gets in the way of his character. Why did that have to be the reason he worries about Mario, not the fact he doesn't know him? This makes most of his scenes at a certain point awkward and removes most tension from the villains. It could have at least saved this for a real Yates from the movie. That way was even worse in terms of disappointment. They need to throw in him executing prisoners to try and keep some tension, but he's already ruined. This movie wouldn't even have to change that drastically if he wanted power over other Yans or other genetic motivation. Even the marketing knew how stupid this was and kept this secret. This will likely be my main thought after the movie and is putting down this significantly. It's a big problem in an otherwise great time. It could have been better, but it's still better than how most people thought about this a year ago. I doubt there'll be a sequel when Nintendo's making their own studio, but if there is, I'll be looking forward to it. In conclusion, I give the Super Mario Bros. Movie 8 out of 10 and I would recommend recommendation. It is a solid movie that's worth watching, but if you didn't like the trailers, maybe wait for a digital release of some sort. It matches the style and I enjoyed watching it. Sorry to Illumination's best movie of the 2020s, but personally only 6th place. It's objectively better than the Yorvax, but I can't find myself putting it higher yet. Also, it isn't even the best video game movie released in the past week with a whole novel hero using it because Tetris. I watched it expecting a joke movie, but it ended up great. It is interesting how it goes over something as simple as Tetris, ends up being called wars for distribution rights. That's another recommendation for anyone who has Apple TV for some reason. There hasn't been an initial impression in a while, that could be any movies released early in the year. If you enjoyed this video, consider pressing subscribe and watching more. The end.